Picture this, you're 31, and one day you're handed a pink slip. It feels like the end of the world, right? But for me, that layoff was the turning point that led to my early retirement at 39. Stick around as I share my journey from being laid off to living my dream life, and how I turned a setback into my biggest opportunity. Hey friends, I'm Jason. I retired at 39 to travel the world. Today I'm sharing how getting fired, laid off, at 31 led to me getting fired, financially independent, retired early at 39. I've always been a saver and an entrepreneur. Even back in high school, I was scheming ways to make a quick buck. I had this side hustle where I'd buy boxes of gum and I'd sell the individual packs for twice the price at school. I remember thinking, man, this is easy money. And it was a thrilling feeling, and I was hooked on the idea of entrepreneurship. Then, when I was around 19 or so, I stumbled upon another great opportunity. I found a cheap supplier of sunglasses on eBay. Now, the internet was still new back then, and not everyone had the same access. So I decided to capitalize on that. I set up a booth at the local county fair, and I resold those sunglasses, and they sold very well, actually. I even had friends selling them for me, and I paid them a small commission. Those summer days at the fair, I made several $1,000s, and honestly, at that age, it was like hitting the jackpot. So fast forward a couple years, and I went to college, got my degree, and I ended up landing a job in the automotive field. I worked for a company that helped car dealers list their inventory online. After about 2 years, I got a promotion that allowed me to move to Indianapolis, and things were really looking up at this point. After renting an apartment for about 3 years, I ended up buying a house and settling in here, feeling like I was living the dream. Fast forward 6 or 7 years go by, living in Indy, and our company was acquired by a larger one. At this point, I was excited. I got a nice raise and life was good for a whole 2 years. But then in 2007, I believe it was, the recession hit, and it hit the auto industry especially hard, like really hard. And it's crazy because one evening I got this email saying that I needed to fly to Chicago the next morning, and that a car would pick me up, take me to the airport. And I remember feeling a pit in my stomach thinking, like, why can't I just drive? I mean, it's only a 3-hour drive away. And why such a short notice? And then my phone started to ring. It was my team members. They were starting to call me because they got the same email. We weren't told why, of course, but we were smart enough to connect the dots. And so the next day we flew to Chicago, and there we were all laid off. I was 31, and let me tell you, it was a really demoralizing feeling. Thankfully, though, I did receive a 6-month severance package, but it was still a rude awakening. And it hit me that in the corporate world, you're just a number. They'll cut you loose without a second thought at a moment's notice. The company will always do what's best for them. And that was my aha moment. At that point, I vowed to shift my loyalty from corporations to myself. I started seeing my job as a means to an end rather than a lifelong commitment. And thank goodness I also had a solid emergency fund, which really helped me during that transitional period. Now, with all my newfound free time, I spent many hours watching Anthony Bourdain and countless other travel YouTube channels. And they just sparked something in me. I was fascinated by their adventures, but I wasn't quite ready to pack my bags just yet. After about a year, I ended up finding another job, and this time was with my main competitor that I had spent years trying to crush. The salary was quite a bit lower, but it fit my skills, and I thought, well, what else am I going to do? So I did that job for about 3 or 4 years while I continued to consume all this travel content. And every video that I watched, it fueled my desire for a different lifestyle. And it was around this time period that the term digital nomad was born. I knew that I wanted to be one, but I didn't know how yet. I can remember thinking, well, if they can do it, why can't I? I was tired of the corporate grind and really tired of car dealers, and I wanted more freedom. Then I stumbled across The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And that book changed everything for me. I realized that I didn't have to be stuck in the same life script as everyone else to make a living. So I jumped headfirst into online affiliate marketing. I taught myself everything I could from Google, YouTube, Reddit. And at this stage, I was building websites, learning SEO, and eventually making a tiny amount of money from affiliate marketing. I figured out my travel budget and realized that paying off my house would be the only way that I could free myself and have the lifestyle that I wanted. So I made that my priority. I was determined to create a life that would allow me the freedom to travel. It took about 2 years of hustling on the side and building my online business before I was ready to take that plunge. Fortunately, I'd saved enough for my full-time job and was finally generating enough online income that I didn't need to tap into my savings. That's when I decided to pull the plug on my job and booked a one-way flight to Thailand. I was 39, and I'll be honest, I was terrified. I planned to stay in Thailand for at least 1 month, but I ended up loving every second of it, and I stayed for 2 months. The sights, the food, the culture, it was all so different, so amazing to me. I was also completely sold on this newfound freedom that I had. And before I booked that flight, I remember thinking, well, I can always come back and get another job if things don't work out, but I hope I won't have to. So when I eventually returned to the US, I continued to work on my online business. And the beauty of that was I could work as much or as little as I wanted to. See, I was my own boss, and that felt incredible. The next winter, I traveled back to Asia for 6 months this time, and I visited 10 countries. The entire time, I hardly worked. My online income was virtually passive at this point, proving that the concepts in that book that I read could really work. And this is how my life has been for the past several years. In the winter, I travel overseas, exploring new places. And in the summer, I'd come back to the US and focus on my online business. Now, before you think I was making big bucks and that my online income replaced my full-time income, let me be clear. My online income wasn't huge, but it was just enough to cover my expenses, including travel. And the best part, I never needed to touch my savings, and my nest egg continued to grow. During one of my visits to Cambodia, I met my wife, Darvi. And thank God she shares my same financial values and beliefs, which is definitely a win-win. Now, together, we travel for months at a time and spend our time on hobbies when we're back in the US. We're living our best life now. Now, I do want to make note of one thing. During my entire working career, I was saving probably close to 70% of my income. And that's how I was able to accumulate my nest egg in the first place, which allowed me to fire at 39. So that's my story. How getting laid off at 31 led me to an amazing life of travel and freedom by age 39. If I can do it, I know you can too. Sure, life's full of unexpected twists and turns, and sometimes those twists lead you exactly where you're meant to be. So if my story is giving you even just a little bit of hope or inspiration, please do hit the like button. These videos take a lot of time and effort to make, and you simply liking them is the best thing you can do to help support us and help this channel grow. And I greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching, my friends. See you next time.